This is serious, Iggy.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? The draft is very serious, obviously, and fans are invested in the draft. These injuries are just as serious and maybe more serious than the draft. This is astonishing what's going on with the 49ers.
Injuries are a part of football. They're unavoidable in games, but they're totally avoidable in June. And I have a full list of players who have gotten injured in practice since Kyle Shanahan has taken over. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's Tavarius Moore. There's Justin School. There's Jeff Wilson Jr., who they say he injured it in the locker room. Okay. Another guy who wasn't in a game. It was in the locker room. DJ Reed last year got injured in practice. The Niners waived him. The Seahawks picked him up the next day. Now he's a starting cornerback for them. Jerick McKinnon tore his ACL. Jalen Hurd tore his ACL. Malcolm Smith tore his pec. Quan Alexander tore his bicep. Dee Ford ruined his back. Tavarius Moore Achilles. Justin School ACL. Nick Bosa ankle. Brandon Ayuk hamstring. Tom Compton concussion. All in practices. 12 guys.
So Iggy, what I'm asking you is, why do you think this? And let's say I think this happens more to the 49ers than it does to other teams, and it happens year after year after year. Obviously, other teams get people hurt, but I think with the Niners, it's an epidemic. Iggy, why do you think it's happening?
There's a million reasons why. It's their job to figure it out. It's Kyle Shanahan's job to figure it out. He's been on the job for 5 years, and he can't do anything that fixes it. It preceded him. So I don't really have any sympathy for that. That's the other question. Do you have sympathy for their predicament right now? It's not my job. That I'm quality control. I do the best I can. I'm guessing that his practices are too strenuous. He said,
hold on. Sympathy is a good one. I have no sympathy. Here's the deal. I had sympathy last season.
Yes.
You know, it's like a plague came on them. I don't feel that way anymore. I think they bring the plague on themselves.
Yeah.
So go on with what you were saying about how he runs practices.
Well, I mean, Shanahan said himself, we're doing shorter practices because the players aren't in football shape. It was after the first OTA. It was like an hour practice, which was short. And he said, well, yeah, they're not really in football shape. We're going shorter. Well, it seems to me that the duration doesn't really matter. It's the intensity that matters. If you're asking these guys to go out and sprint 100%, compete 100%, for 20 minutes, for 45 minutes, for an hour, that's all dangerous if they're not in football shape, as you said. So really what you should be doing is taking down the intensity. They could be on the field for 3 hours if they're just lifting weights and doing drills and talking about scheme. As long as there's no actual competition, stay on the field as long as you want. The competition thing is, you said they're not in football shape. There's only one speed to compete, 100%. You're setting them up for injury.
Right, and now he's lost. In next week, they got minicamp. He's already lost people for minicamp. He should have used this time to get people ready for minicamp.
Right.
Iggy, another thing, I put 100% of the blame on Shanahan.
Yeah.
You said there are many variables. I know people are kvetching, get rid of the training staff. He's in charge of the training staff. I think the training staff is probably damn good. I think he doesn't know. Listen, a coach coaches games and he makes game plans. He also is responsible for the whole picture. The whole picture is also OTAs, minicamp, training camp. He doesn't seem fit to run these things. And the idea that he's getting people seriously hurt in May and June, Iggy, it's unforgivable.
It seems like unprofessional. Unprofessional.
Yeah.
Like he's not cut out for the head coaching job. He's very good at his skill set, drawing up plays, X's and O's. But this is totally different. It's scheduling. How hard should your players practice on June 7th? And he got it wrong. And it's a serious decision that he messed up.
And I want to say something to our viewers, because I know you people are fans and you want to like Shanahan and all that. The buck stops with him. He screwed up. You can make excuses for him, and that's your business. His business was not to get people hurt and out for the season.
What I've noticed, the Kyle Shanahan phenomenon, and honestly, it kind of makes me, it's nauseating. I feel like, I mean, when he does something good, he gets all the credit, as he should. He's the head coach. If Robert Saleh's defense was carrying the team, Kyle Shanahan got credit for that because he hired Robert Saleh, as he should. Anything that's good that happens on the Niners is on his resume. But anything bad that happens is like, well, you can't blame Kyle for that. That really isn't his responsibility. No, you get all the credit for good things, and you take on most of the blame for the bad things because you're the head coach. You hired the training staff. You brought in these players. You hired the general manager. Every single person that's on the 49ers is here because Kyle wanted them here.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
know some people have mentioned maybe this is John Lynch's fault. Hell no. It's not John Lynch's fault. He doesn't run the practices. He
How is
stands
John
there and
Lynch?
watches.
How is he in charge of reducing practice injuries?
Right.
Also, Kyle hired him. If Kyle wanted a different general manager with more experience, he would have done that.
Yeah. Anyway, I absolve John Lynch of this. I see this as a young man who has certain skills and does not know how to run practices, does not know how to build one day to the next to the next. He can plan a succession of plays. If I do this, then this will be open on the third play.
Right.
If I do this, then I have a better practice on the third day, and I won't lose people for the season. And he doesn't know how to do that. Iggy, this is very serious. And you made a point earlier when we were talking on the phone. If he flops as a head coach, and listen, neither Iggy or I is saying that he will flop as a head coach. I'm not saying he'll succeed either. I have no idea. But if he flops, part of the reason is this. He doesn't know what he's doing.
The main reason.
Yeah.
His guys keep getting hurt, and he has to be culpable there. It's been 5 years, Dad. It can't be bad luck 5 years in a row. He needs to find a solution.
He's in charge.
To this.
And, you know, there are other organizations. We won't mention them. But we know about other organizations where if there were players that got hurt in May and June, the owner would go to the coach and say, what the hell are you getting my players hurt for? I didn't pay for them not to be able to play in the regular season because you got them hurt in May and June. I paid for them to play in the 16 or 17 game season now.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for this. And what's more, Jed should be pissed.
Jed should be pissed. I was just going to say that. He should be pissed. There should be a meeting today where Jed has the list of all the players who have gotten hurt in practice since Kyle Shanahan got here. And is like, look, I understand there's players who get hurt in games. You can't avoid that. There's players who get hurt for all kinds of reasons. These are 12 avoidable injuries. Why do they keep happening? Why do we have 2 in one day yesterday?
I don't blame Jed for any of this. Jed needs to hold this kid accountable.
Yeah, because it looks like a kid who has been he looks like a guy who's been over promoted. In this regard, basic task of putting together a schedule is beyond him. He's thinking about X's and O's or something. He said they weren't in football shape, Dad. He said it himself.
And then he didn't know what to do about it.
Trevor Pike says we just need to draft players with little to no injury history, period. Well, that's what they did this year. That's what they did this year. It's not helping. It's not enough.
It's too simple because players get injured. You just don't want them injured in training.